Source Consultants sits down with Staci Swiderski, our founder and CEO, to celebrate 19 years of bringing dreams and miracles together. Staci reflects on the early days of Family Source, the evolution of surrogacy and egg donation, and the heart that has guided the agency through nearly 2 decades of growth. She also shares how FSC's mission reaches far beyond matching, highlighting the agency's commitment to ethical family building through its New York licensure, national and global presence, and long-standing support of nonprofit organizations. The episode closes with gratitude, honoring the surrogates, egg donors, their families, and their support systems, and the trusted partners who make this work possible, offering a heartfelt thank you to a community built on compassion, trust, and the belief that everyone deserves the chance to build a family.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Family Source Consultants Podcast. My name is Chris Gao, and I will be your host today. So today is a very special day for us. It is Family Source Consultants' 19th birthday. And to celebrate our 19th birthday, we have our CEO and Staci Swiderski on this episode. Who else can be a better person to be on this episode? Hi, Staci. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am great, and welcome to this episode. Welcome to your own podcast.
Well, thank you. This is fun. This is
Right?
fun. Couldn't ask for a better host.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. It absolutely is my pleasure to be hosting this episode. So today is our 19th birthday. What an exciting day.
My goodness, has the time flown by,
I know,
right?
right? Yeah. It's
So
like
many celebrations.
basically it's like, you had this baby Family Source Consultants 19 years ago, and today it's turning 19. Wow, that is basically full on.
2007.
It
Yeah.
really
So they
is.
made me like probably about 12, right, when we started it.
Exactly. You started young. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
like
funny.
today I think I really wanted to share with our listeners some of the stories behind FSC, and just in the last 19 years and how things have been. Can you just for the people out there that don't know Family Source Consultants very well, can you just share a little bit about the story behind it, and what made you decide to start a surrogacy and egg donation agency 19 years ago? Because this is not the type of business you hear that a lot of people operate, right?
Yeah, you don't just kind of wake up and say, I'm going to start a surrogacy and egg
Right?
donor agency, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, well, definitely. And I think, like many others in this field, you have a passion for
Mhm.
other people and family building. And for me, it was that mixed with obviously a personal experience.
Mm.
So my husband and we went through surrogacy ourselves, gestational surrogacy. And many, many years ago, our son is now 20. So I've been in this field for quite some time.
Yep.
But that definitely was, that was the reason behind Family Source, really exists, is the personal experience.
Hmm.
But even backtracking there, I went through a partial hysterectomy back in, my goodness, 1998, January of 98. And I could no longer carry any more children. I was very blessed though, where I already had children. So,
Right.
unlike, many of our amazing intended parents,
Hmm.
who don't have children, I was lucky enough to have children.
Yeah,
But I clearly was not done, growing my family.
absolutely.
And, so yeah, I explored surrogacy, and my goodness, learned so much about it. We're talking back in dinosaur ages, before there wasn't Facebook or smartphones or anything, AI, none of that we have,
I know,
that we
right?
have today. So it was a lot of research. So I did
Hmm.
that for many, many, many years,
Yeah.
and we finally dove into it.
Hmm.
And we unfortunately did not have success, the first, second, third go around. So it was 3 years of trying.
Right.
Just unfortunate, rematch with surrogates quite a few times.
Mhm.
But again, keep in mind, this is many, many, many years ago. So,
Mhm.
um, but I definitely, my heart was totally in it. And I think every day since then, it just has grown and grown and grown. And,
Mhm.
the passion definitely continues. Just when I think, you can't be so compassionate about something, about other people, and it just doesn't stop, right? I feel like we still have so much more to do here. And
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So really to answer your question, it was, my personal experience
Hmm.
going through the process and myself. And I knew just then and there, I want to
Right.
help other people build their families.
Right. So, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, I know this may be a little personal, but if you don't mind me asking, during your surrogacy journey, what did you find were some of the most challenging things in your own journey?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, again, this was way back then. So we didn't
Mhm.
have the forms of communication that we have today, right?
Mhm, mhm. Right.
But I would be just also very just honest. It's all about transparency, right? It was literally knowing that somebody else is carrying your child and you have zero control over that.
Yep.
And I don't mean so much not control over the surrogate. That's something, we have to understand, we have
Hmm.
to accept.
Right.
But it was more like the what ifs, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if, my goodness, she falls downstairs, or things like that, things that you just think of, And I think
Absolutely.
too, having carried children myself,
Hmm.
um, I I knew like all the what ifs, right? Like on a
Hmm.
personal level. So
Right. Yeah.
that was just that was probably the hardest for me, was not really being able to celebrate until our child was born.
Hmm.
Because you think, and I hate to say this, because we tell our intended parents, enjoy the journey. Let us,
Yeah.
let
Yeah.
us, let us be the mediator here. Let us, ensure that you are having an amazing journey. Your surrogates have an amazing journey.
Yeah.
But realistically, it is very hard for intended parents to sit
A-
back and just
Absolutely.
celebrate when you don't
Absolutely.
have the child yet. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Totally. Easier said than done. And then I feel like,
very
for
much.
any intending parent, just knowing that, someone else is carrying your child, that excitement, but also that just like anxiety. Like, I'm not an intended parent, but I can totally imagine how I would feel if someone else was carrying a child for me and I literally all I can do is just like sit back and just let everything happen, you know?
Right. And I think equally what was challenging too, as an intended parent, you don't want to be controlling, right? So you never know if you're
Absolutely.
doing enough. You never
Right.
know if you're doing too much. You
Hmm.
don't, it's a very fine line. You don't want
Hmm.
to interrupt their lives, but yet
Hmm.
here they're carrying your child, right? So that was also very, very difficult, because you really want to do all the right things, but sometimes you
Right.
don't know what to do, or if you should do
Yeah.
more. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, that's why the agency's role is so important, because I think as a surrogacy agency, you're really guiding intended parents as well as their surrogate through this entire process. And like, we share our experience and our expertise, and we utilize them to help intended parents and surrogate find the balance, because intended parents obviously care and they want to show that they care, but they don't want to be overly controlling or just like, want to know everything.
That's right. That's right. And that you just hit the nail on the head, Chris. That's exactly why Family Source was born, was
Hmm.
because, again, personally going through it, we wanted, this agency to be as stress free as possible for all parties involved.
Hmm.
And yeah, and the role that we play, at Family Source, is pretty amazing, and we have such great, team members here, and our staff
I
is
know.
wonderful, and so, of course, there's going to be bumps along the way, and that's to be expected. But
Yeah.
I know that our team is so skilled to be able to manage those,
Hmm.
and to ensure that, the journey is always back on track, and
Yep.
that's what's important,
Right. Right.
and we really pride ourselves in that.
Yeah, I know we do. And also one thing one of the things that I think we do really, really well is to help intended parents set up realistic expectations up front from the get-go. Because, as an agency, we know what surrogacy journeys are like. We know there could be unexpected situations because there are literally so many parties involved, and sometimes it is a medical procedure or process.
Right.
Success is not guaranteed
It
100%.
is not.
So like, I think helping out, just being honest with intended parents up front and helping them know what to expect, including some of the unexpected situations where the possibility of that, I think, really, really helps parents down the road as well, because we're not, you know, guiding them into this process thinking it's going to be really, really easy. It's going to be a piece of
You're
cake,
right.
because the reality is not always like that.
It is not. And, again, you hit the nail on the head with transparency. It is the utmost importance.
Mhm.
And again, we come here with such a wealth of knowledge and
Yep.
experience where, many of our intended parents, while they're coming from so many different scenarios and situations. And while they know what they know, they don't know really what we know as the professionals. So, really just guiding them in that most precious way to ensure that we do everything that we can do to ensure success, even though, like you said, it's not 100% guaranteed. There's just obviously situations that are out of our control. We
Hmm.
can't guarantee a transfer is going to result to a positive pregnancy, the first transfer, second, third, or whatever it may be. The good news is that, over the 19 years, I have had the privilege to just see the success rates continually improve.
Hmm.
And, the odds are definitely, in the favor of you are going to have success, especially when you are utilizing, you have a surrogate who has proven success, obviously, is pregnancy, right? And you have good quality embryos. So when you are combining that, I mean, there's a very high, obviously, chance for success. And
Hmm.
it's just been really, it's really kind of humbling just to watch science the way that it has continually improved over the 19 years. My goodness, when we started the agency, they were still doing 3-day embryo transfers,
Yeah.
and
Right.
yeah, so just to see how far that's come and the genetic testing
Absolutely.
and yeah, and I think you always have to ensure that, as an agency, and obviously the fertility centers, our fellow professionals are amazing, but the standards are set so high that we are ensuring that everything is aligned, the
Hmm.
best of the best when that transfer takes place
Hmm.
to really try to improve those success rates.
I think you shared so much about FSC that people may or may not know, because some of the things really happen behind the scenes. And I was actually just going to ask, what is your secret for FSC's longevity? Just because not every surrogacy agency or just business in general is fortunate enough to celebrate their 19th birthday,
Yeah.
and we're obviously still going strong. But like a lot of businesses just don't last that long. What is your
Yeah.
secret?
Oh my goodness. It's pretty simple in life and in business in general is just have some really great ethics and, transparency.
Hmm.
That it comes down to always that. And then on top of that, when you have those, everything else is going to fall into place, right? You want a
Hmm.
team that is really bought into the mission. You want a team that, really is just so passionate about what they do and,
Hmm.
are respecting the vision of Family Source Consultants and, you know, at the end of the day, it's just the trust and the transparency that we have here.
Hmm.
It clearly goes a long way. Here we're celebrating our 19 years, and I really wouldn't change a thing. Other than let's continue to make more babies, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think too is just is trying to, there's just as there's no regulations in this field. And
Absolutely.
that's unfortunate. I wish there were more. I wish there were regulations. So,
Same. Yeah.
agencies just kind of all over the place
Yep.
and good, bad, whatever. And so really just continuing to stay in our lane, always making the best choices that we possibly can and
Hmm.
always ethical choices.
Right.
And that, that just builds trust. And, hands down communication,
Hmm.
we've heard so many times over the years, and personally I've heard it, it's just the communication that we provide with our intended parents, our surrogates, our donors, even fellow professionals. The turnaround time is very, quick with
Hmm.
you're going to get an answer. You're
Yep.
going to hear from us. If not
Absolutely. Yep.
immediately, or in the moment, very, very soon within the day. So communication, I think, goes a long way. And it's the world in general has struggled with, everybody is so remote these days, and right, and but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that should ever have anything to do with a lack of communication.
Definitely
You
should.
need to work together as if you're all in the same office, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
we have all these amazing tools. While we do have, our office, it's just, obviously we have team members throughout the world, but that's just one thing that we've always honed in on is the communication has to
Mhm.
be A plus all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And especially for intended parents who are in this stage where, they might have exhausted all other options to have a biological child, and
Yeah.
now surrogacy is their last option, and they may have gone through um other fertility treatments, and they're in this state where, like, this is where all of their hope is. And I think that put them in an even more vulnerable position. And I really do feel blessed working in this field and having the honor to help these people. And, like, yes, absolutely, communication is going to be very, very important. And that we have to be sensitive, and not only we communicate in a timely manner, we're also sensitive and respectful when we're communicating to, with intended parents, as well as our surrogates and egg donors, just because, us having been professionals in the field, we may think something, oh, it's easy and straightforward, but it doesn't necessarily
You have to
mean.
break it down sometimes.
Exactly. It doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily mean intended parents and surrogates, they understand this concept yet. And, like, when you encounter things like that, I think the patience is so important. And also just being able to explain the concept and being able to tell what they understand, what they don't understand. And like that's a skill. And I really do think that's a skill. It's part of the communication skills. And I'm really proud of our team.
Yes, absolutely. The full, like I said, the transparency and the honesty is, it really goes a long way. And, what you were just sharing is that, intended parents, they, when they reach out to us, when they're from the first consultation to becoming our client, it's almost like I've sat so many consultations in the 19 years, and I almost pretty much most of the time I know what they're asking before they even ask. You know what I mean? Like it's just like because we live it and we've seen it, and we want to help them
Right.
so badly that it is like you said, it's such an honor to walk this journey with them and celebrate their child when the baby's born with them. And there's no better career, I don't think. Yes, is it challenging? Absolutely, it's
Mhm,
challenging.
mhm,
Sometimes we're in situations where we do have to share unfortunate news,
mhm.
or there's just a little setback. But for them, it's a huge setback,
It
right?
really is,
Where
yeah.
we may see something, and it's pretty common that you see
Mhm,
within this, community and in our work. But for them, it's just like, oh man, it's another notch down that totem pole where it's like, oh, I got to work our way back up. But
mhm.
we know it may be a delay here or there. At the end of the day, like success is always, that's the grand finale. That's what we want. But for them, it's just another setback. So again, the honesty and the compassion for people,
Mhm.
it just goes a long way. And our intended parents and our surrogates and our donors, they feel that. They know that. I mean, the number of testimonials that we receive is so heartfelt.
Right.
And, it's our team, they're amazing. And I'm so proud of all of them. And I hope they're proud of themselves because this is not a job that it's 9 to 5. At 5 o'clock you log off and you
Right.
just go on your with your day. It's a job that are carrying these emotions, and
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
can't shut that off.
I
So,
know.
and not anybody can do it, right? And or
Yeah,
at
and it's
least they
not for
can't do
everyone.
it as well as we do.
Right. So yeah, so we talked about, the longevity and the success of family source consultants, but the reality is it's not always sunshine and rainbow. Every business,
Yeah.
has its challenges. What are some of the challenges in the last 19 years for family source consultants, and what kept you going and just not giving up during these hard times?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't want to be boring and say COVID was a tough one, but it was a tough one.
God,
COVID was tough
it really
on
was.
all ends. On all ends, it was tough. It was tough for us as an agency. It was tough for the fertility centers, for the
Hmm.
intended parents, everybody. It was tough for the
Yeah.
world. But honing into just what we do, I would say that was definitely a challenge
Hmm.
as really a business owner,
Hmm.
because everything shut down, right?
Yeah,
So that
absolutely.
means the income was stalled, right?
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
so that was tough. And even though they were, say, agency fees that were due, a ton of parents were like, well, we can't move forward anyways for about 5 months. So
Right,
I'm
yeah.
not paying it, you know? So I
Mm-hmm.
think the toughest part was, during that time was to continue, staffing the team and not letting
Absolutely.
anybody go. And
Right.
we did that. And I'm really
Mm-hmm.
proud of that. And that was something, I mean, as a matter of fact, I was probably the crazy one and I even hired during that time. Like who does that? But I knew though, I knew that, we were going to come out of it, and we did, and we came out, man, running, and we have just, grown since then, even more tremendously. And that time really allowed me to focus on, that's when we expanded and we launched our fixed program, fixed fee
Mm-hmm.
program. And so it really, but it was a challenge. It was definitely a challenge. So aside from that, I would say some of the challenges are, you're obvious, the losses, when they're, there's the miscarriages, or, especially when they're later in the pregnancy, those are always a challenge. But,
Mm-hmm.
I can look at it from a business perspective and, share like the COVID times or the everyday, challenges. But you know it's really, it comes down to, when you care and you have a team that cares so much,
Mm-hmm.
there's always challenges. So it's hard for me to say what is the hardest challenge and what wasn't. But definitely it's the losses, it's the unsuccessful cycles,
Mm-hmm.
you know or maybe the 1 to 2% that actually don't end up with that success story at the end of the
Right,
day.
right.
So those are always the hardest for sure.
Yeah.
um, but I will say, for me, an ongoing challenge, that wasn't just a one time thing,
Mm-hmm.
is, like I said, and you're going to hear me say this quite a bit, is the regulations, right?
Yeah.
I wish there were stronger regulations. I mean, and I don't want to go down a negative road, but we've all heard of the stories with the escrow situations, right?
Right,
The
right.
intended parents losing their money, and that is something
Yeah.
that should never, ever, ever happen.
It really
We
shouldn't
don't
happen.
hold escrow in house, never
Mm-hmm.
will.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you work with an escrow provider that is so trustworthy, and it's hard for intended parents to, especially when they hear those stories, that they're like, okay, that's great and all, but we know that X, Y, and Z can happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it always comes down to a level of trust, and I know it's hard sometimes to earn that trust, all around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's still a challenge, is the lack of regulations, and I wish there were more,
Yeah.
for sure.
I know a lot of
Um,
professionals in our field wish for more regulations on,
well, we
agencies.
can do it. I think we
Yeah,
all need to fight together and, really just bind together and do it.
exactly. I agree. I think it's the people and the agencies that really want to do the right thing. We should get together and push for a change and for more regulations. So all, like, not even if it's not all agencies, but like the vast majority of the agencies will operate the same way for the best of, for intended parents. And so I think
Yeah.
right now it is so confusing. I hear this from intended parents all the time. I talk to this agency, they operate this way. I talk to that agency, they operate that way. And the fee structures and surrogates compensation, everything just
Their
varies
heads are
so much.
spinning. Yeah.
It really is. And as a result, the more intended parents learn, the less they're certain about how they're going to move forward.
And then, heaven forbid it, if you Google, who knows what it's going to come up, right? Right. But, for sure, building families now for 19 years, we're clearly doing something right. We're not backed by investors. We don't have, it's literally, we are backed by
Yeah.
doing the right thing and our own
Mhm.
ethical, decisions. And that goes a long way. But yeah, I mean, we do have some, a great opportunity. We have seeds, for example. I think seeds is a great start. I
Mhm.
think, they can pour a little bit of gasoline on there and really continually make improvements, right? And um, that is, could be a really tremendous positive for the surrogacy and donor community. But there's still a lot more to do. there's a lot more to do. For example, I know to be a Seeds member, you can't hold escrow in house.
Right.
That's great and everything, but there's still a lot more that, us Seeds members can be doing and pitching in and trying to make that difference for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I have definitely seen an increased number of intended parents specifically asking, do you guys hold your escrow in house? Or even like, attorneys, are your attorneys in house? And, we always tell them, no, we want you to have your independent legal representation, and we want the escrow company to be completely independent from FSC as well.
Yeah.
And I do think more intended parents are, choosing agencies that don't hold escrow or legal in-house just because of
Hmm.
the potential conflict of interest and the risks.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And it's again continuing to just always make those best decisions and working with, you know, there's so many amazing professionals in our field,
Hmm.
right? And I feel so lucky to have worked alongside them and learned from them. Some of
Right.
the attorneys in the fertility centers and mental health, professionals, and just really have an opportunity to learn from them and work with them for so many years. And um, not only does it ultimately make our life's easier, but we know that our intended parents, our surrogates, and donors are in the best hands possible.
Hmm.
And so just building those relationships, and so the longevity for sure,
Yeah.
and building those relationships, it definitely it pays off, for the success outcome for sure. And
Hmm.
I would say that the flip side of some of the downs, I mean, we have so many positives too, right? We are licensed in New York, and that definitely ensured that there are more regulations that we had to meet in order to become licensed.
Hmm.
And I would love to see that across the United States, and
Yes, let's
and
hope.
and have more of those regulations. But I think definitely being licensed in New York, that was definitely a such a win for us too. Just in general, the New York laws, and Michigan and all that. So those positive laws that have enforced surrogacy, and
Hmm.
that's something to be proud of as well. And seeing those highlights over the 19 years, and has really just compounded to just why surrogacy is so amazing.
Yeah. I really do think, in the last 19 years, you've witnessed not just the growth of family source consultants, the birth and the growth of family source consultants, but also how the industry has evolved, and how IVF and the technology has changed, and how surrogacy has become more common, but also more talked about
Yeah.
in our society, and it has become more acceptable. And I think there's just so much that has changed in the last 19 years, which makes me wonder, what is your vision for the next 19 years for family source consultants? We can't predict how the world is going to be, but for family source consultants, what's your vision for the next 19 years?
My vision is really to continue doing exactly what we're doing today, but times 10 as far as
There
growth.
you go.
That means, just, help more and more families, and continue to be such a sense of support for, again, we could talk about intended parents, all day long, but let's focus on those who really come, step forth and make it possible, the surrogates and the donors, right? So to
Hmm.
continue also providing the best possible support for them. And that is something, again, I'm very proud of, is the support group. That, I mean, we've had amazing support groups before support groups even existed on Facebook and all that stuff,
Hmm.
and we've always um honed in on ensuring that all parties feel the sense of support. And so that's just something I want to continue to really add more and more of. But definitely the outcome of surrogacy, how it's just so now, it's much more known than what it was before. Obviously, we can't take credit for that, as far as social media, right? Social media, we have, now the access to, podcasts and webinars and YouTube and all of this, this marketing genius, that has come to the world. And but I think that our job and our goal is to, while we have these amazing platforms, is to continue to be transparent and to continue to put surrogacy on this pedestal that it needs to be, rather than looking negatively at it, as because we've seen that over the years too, right? I mean,
Yep.
recently of, you know, where other countries, you know, they shut it down, and, you know, where we want to continue to provide this sense of positivity, and that, you know, women have this choice. It's not like they're forced to be a surrogate. They're forced
Right.
to, you know, well, you know, those are some amazing regulations that I guess do exist with ASRM, right? We have the guidelines. So I wouldn't say the regulations 100% all the time, but we have the guidelines that we
Yep.
always follow.
Right.
And so just to continue to be a strong advocate for family building and third party reproduction, and realize that people do have choices, right? Surrogates and you know, the intended parents, and it comes down to, even, you know, what we focus on all the time, every day, and matching. You have a choice. If a surrogate does not want to, say, terminate a pregnancy, if there is, you know, the something health wise with, you know, with the fetus or with the baby, then they have that right to not do so. We just ensure that our matching aligns with that across the board. So again, we have these amazing platforms where we can just shout at the rooftop how beautiful surrogacy really is. And obviously egg donation, and, you know,
Yeah,
and being a former donor myself twice for a family,
I
and
know. We
knowing
didn't
that, you know,
even
I've
jump
been,
into that today.
oh, that's okay. That's okay. But yeah, you know, being on both sides of the family building unit, you know, needing help to grow my own family, you know, needing that surrogate piece. But then after having our son and going through the egg retrievals myself, I experienced that. So I wanted to help a family, right? And be an egg donor for them. So I was lucky to do that, um, you know, twice. And they have a son and a daughter through my egg donations. But this is something, again, it seems so long ago, but we have to continually talk about, you know,
Right.
the beauty of what these egg donors are doing, and, you know, the surrogates. So yeah, it's like, couldn't ask for a better profession. You know, yes, there's challenges, but my goodness, the legacy that we are leaving is just, it
Yeah,
can't really be topped.
absolutely. And I particularly love how, you know, within our company, we talk about the trust intended parents put in us, and I think that is just so important. It's such a reminder every day that this is not just a job. We're not just a company. We are really taking on the trust people put in us, like especially first time intended parents, like for the intended parents coming back for a sibling journey, they know who we are, they know like generally what to expect. But for the parents
Yeah.
who choose to work with us for the first time, it really isn't because they know exactly who we are or how we're
Right,
going to
right.
help them or how their journey is going to turn out. It's because they simply put their trust in us. And I think that just means so much. And I
We don't take
do
that for
know
granted.
that every team member understands that. And that is really one of the reasons that, you know, push me forward every day, just thinking about the trust that I'm carrying on my shoulders. And I think that just means a lot.
It does. And I, you know, and I know that we reinforce that all the time with our
Hmm.
team. And not that they need it, or not that they, you know, they need to hear it. They know it, but it's just something that, you know, it always starts, you know, that's just our vision. We reinforce it all the time. And we have, you know, our weekly team meetings, and
Right.
we have our monthly staff meetings. And it's just something that we continuously ensure that the staff is always aligned with that vision. And
Mhm.
we have, I mean, and because of the staff, you know, I can't take credit for all this, right? You know, I mean, our staff is, they're so amazing. You know, they are the first point to our surrogates and our donors and our intended parents, and they have that daily interaction. And, you know, because of them, that's why we have so many returning surrogates, you know,
Mhm.
doing, you know, multiple journeys, and why we have so many returning intended parents that they're ready for that sibling journey. And they want to work with us because they
Right.
felt that sense of support. And so kudos to our team. I mean, they're the ones who is, you know, they are the ones who are really making those miracles really help come true.
Well, my strong leadership and vision certainly are very, very important as well.
Well, and I have to say, yes, the vision is so important. The leadership is everything for sure. But I mean, I am very blessed and very lucky to have the best leaders, you know, on our team. Like, our leaders are amazing, and you guys just are such great examples. So, and the team feels it. They know it. They appreciate that. So, yeah, it
Yeah.
goes a long way. And
It
that's what
really.
every business has to run that way to be successful, you
Yep,
know,
that is true. That is true. It
and,
doesn't matter
and
what kind of business you are,
it
that
doesn't
is very
matter.
important. Yep.
And to feel that culture, that sense of belonging and that sense of being able to, feel secure and safe, and you have an idea, whatever your role is, and you have an idea that you think is going to improve, our agency, we want to hear it. Bring it to
Hmm.
us. It's so
Hmm.
important because their words are, they're on the front line, and they're working with, our clients every day. And so we don't take that lightly. We want
Hmm.
to hear it all. So yeah, a great team all around, and I'm very proud of them. And we wouldn't be celebrating 19 years without our tremendous, team. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I do know that our team members feel honored and blessed to be able to, work here and help our intended parents just make a difference in this world. And I think that's, one of the most meaningful things about our profession.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And as they say, great leaders create great leaders, right? So
There you
yes,
go.
there we go. So we want everybody here being a leader, right?
Yeah.
And just continuing to do what they do every day and just be amazing and handling, again, it's not always easy for them, and man, do
Mhm.
they handle it so smoothly and just with the utmost profession. So I'm really proud of that.
All right. I know we have limited time today, so unfortunately, this episode is coming to an end. But before we go, I would love to ask for your advice for the people out there who, may be listening to this podcast and are considering maybe utilizing cervix and egg donation services to grow their families. What's your advice for them?
Yeah, my advice for them is to really, and I'm going to be very, very realistic. I'm going to put myself in the shoes of intended parents today that don't really know anything.
Hmm.
Meet with, 3, 4 other agencies, and really, dive into any questions you have, write them down, ask them, and
Hmm.
moving forward, it's do your research,
Hmm.
with the agencies, but don't give up. No matter what, don't give up.
Yep.
And we see it, and we see it all the time where intended parents are like, oh, we're ready to start, but we just don't. We 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 haven't picked a fertility center yet, or we haven't done this or yet that yet. But if they want to work, if they're ready to get going, and they know for sure this
Hmm.
is the path they're going to take to build their family, and they're ready to sign up, let's go. Because once you
Hmm.
sign up, I mean, the amount of work that we will do for them,
Hmm.
and I just think it's the unknowns, they don't know, right? But
Yep.
so yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely my advice, for intended parents is to just do your research, but at some point you got to just put that trust into your agency, right? And then move forward. um, and don't give up. Like I said, don't give up. Like I said, our logo, and our tagline, motive is bringing dreams and miracles together. We will help you do that.
Hmm.
That is our skill set. And for surrogates and donors who are considering, like, what agency do I choose, because it's so overwhelming for them,
It really is.
and
Yep.
but hands down, we are the best agency that that anybody could work with. And and I'm not just saying that because I'm biased, but like, again, I mean, the support that we
Hmm.
can give and that we have, and it's top notch. And I'm here for it, right? And we're going to continue doing amazing things, and with amazing staff that we have. So yeah,
Yes. I
I
know.
feel
Yeah.
like we could talk all day long, because I could go on and on and on, because it's like a proud parent, right? I'm so proud of our team.
I
Um,
know.
but the opportunities are just endless. And as long as you're doing them, you're taking advantage of the amazing outcome of working with your heart and your ultimate passion. I mean, wow. Like I said, it's a legacy that we're leaving with so many of these families that have
Yes.
now been built through our guidance. So it's tremendous.
I know. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Stacy, for your advice, and thank you so much for joining this episode. And I know, just like you said, we can really just keep talking and, to keep talking forever. But we do have intended parents to help, and we do have babies to make. So
Yes, we
it's
have work to
time.
do.
I know, right? It's unfortunately time to say goodbye, for this episode at least. But everyone out there listening, thank you so much for listening to our special episode today. It's FSC's 19th birthday, and if you are out there thinking about surrogacy or egg donation services, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have and walk you through this entire process and the timeline and any information you should know before you make a decision about surrogacy. And thank you once again, Stacy, for joining us,
Thank
and
you.
happy birthday, Family Source Consultants.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
All right, goodbye, everyone. Stay tuned.
Bye.
We'll see you next time.